Okay, let's start the class. Good afternoon, everyone. Is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am, audible.
Yeah. Okay. So we were discussing some terminologies related to digestive system. We have discussed prehension, mastication. So we have discussed prehension, mastication, and then deglutition and rumination. Okay. About rumination, the process of rumination we will discuss in detail later on when we discuss digestion in ruminants. This is about just the terminology we have discussed. And next term is eructation. Okay, what do you understand by eructation? Eructation means the belching of large quantity of gas produced in the stomach as a result of fermentation by microbial population. Here, what happens in the ruminants, due to the presence of ruminal microbes, the ruminal microbes will be acting on their substrates. Their substrates are the cellulose, or there may be starch in the food, and due to their action there is a fermentative process continuously happening inside the rumen. So the fermentation means in the absence of oxygen, so there is continuous production of the carbon dioxide in addition to other products of the fermentation. Okay, carbon dioxide is one such important component. In addition, there is production of many other gases, methane, hydrogen sulfide, like this. Okay, so such amount of gas needs to be removed from the rumen. Okay, and that process of removal, that is belching of large quantity of gas produced in the stomach as a result of fermentation by microbial population is called eructation. And who stimulates the eructation? It is the pressure of the gas. As more and more of the gas is produced inside the rumen, that pressure caused by the gas will lead to eructation. Okay, and the amount of the gas eructed, okay, the amount of the gas in each eructation varies in different species. And the amount, the peak amount in the eructation occurs between 30 minutes to 2 hours after feeding. That means after 30 minutes of feeding to 2 hours of feeding, there will be more and more production of the gases, and there will be more and more eructation of that gas. In adult cattle, 2 liters per minute. So see how much amount, 2 liters per minute, and in case of sheep, it may be around 5 liters per hour. And this eructation is associated with secondary rumen contraction and biphasic contraction in the reticulum. That means when the rumen contracts, due to the contraction of the rumen, the contents inside the rumen will be moving from one side to another side, and to another side to another side, and there will be continuous mixing of the contents inside the rumen. And during this contraction, as a secondary to the contraction, there will be eructation. Okay, that means more is the rumination process, more will be the fermentative process inside the rumen, and more will be the gas production. More is the gas production, more will be the pressure of the gas, and it will lead to eructation. And it is maximum 30 minutes after feeding, and that continues up to 2 hours after feeding, and it will decline. Okay, so another terminology is the vomition. So vomition means the forceful expulsion of the contents of stomach. The stomach contents, when it is removed forcefully, okay, when it is expelled forcefully through the mouth, it has to go through the mouth, and sometimes it may even happen through the nose also. Okay, that process is called vomition. And in most of the animals, in particularly vomition is seen in case of carnivores and most of the omnivores. Okay, vomition happens in carnivores and in most of the omnivores, while this vomition does not occur in horses and ruminants. Okay, the ruminants, they don't vomit. Horses, they don't vomit. Okay, so vomition occurs in the carnivores and in most of the omnivores, and in such animals, vomition is a protective means. Means when certain what happens, the carnivore animals, what they do, they go for hunting for their prey animals, and they once they get they even consume some rotten materials also sometimes. Okay, some decomposed materials which are having certain bad substances in the body. Okay, after consumption, then what will happen? The animals, they will try to expel it. They will try to remove it from the body forcefully. Okay, and that will be possible through the process of vomition. So in most of the animals, particularly in the carnivores and some omnivores, it is a protective device. It is a protective means to vomit some certain toxins, certain microorganisms, okay, some bad substances. If they happen to eat, then they will try to vomit it, and they will be expelled from the stomach. Further, what will happen, for if that substance further goes to the intestine, it will lead to diarrhea. Okay, there will be indigestion, there will be digestive disturbances. Okay, to prevent that, when the substance is in the stomach, if it is not a good substance, if it is having certain microorganisms which produce certain toxins or some that is what happens, when you happen to eat certain spoiled food substances, you suffer from food poisoning. So in the process of food poisoning, what we usually do, there used to be vomition, and that is followed by diarrhea. Sometimes vomition does not happen, but there is diarrhea, because at that time the bad substances which were present in the stomach, they were earlier not, that could not be detected in the stomach, but it has reached to the intestine. But once it reaches to the intestinal environment detects that something is wrong in that food. In that case, what will happen? It has to be removed from the body very fast. Fast removal will be only possible through the diarrhea. So they stimulate the diarrhea, because that certain bad substances, certain toxins produced by the microbes present in the food, or some spores or certain chemicals, okay, present in the food, leads to stimulation of the vomiting center, and it will stimulate the motility of the intestine. When the intestinal motility increases, there will be more and more contraction, and more contraction will lead to more removal of the excreta. Okay, and sometimes there will be more fluid in that excreta, in the feces, and that will lead to diarrhea. Okay, so the causes for vomition may vary. It may be many. It may range from gastritis or poisoning or to even brain tumors, or in case of the increased intracranial pressure, it may also lead to vomition. Okay, it will trigger more and more vomiting tendency. Vomition is different from regurgitation. Regurgitation is not forceful, but vomition is forceful. Okay, what you have to remember is that forceful expulsion, okay, that from the stomach is vomition, but regurgitation, it is not a forced one. In some certain animals, regurgitation is a normal practice. What they do, they eat, they swallow, and they regurgitate. Okay, some mothers of some certain birds or certain animals, what they do, they regurgitate and feed to their young ones. So regurgitation is different from vomition. Regurgitation is it may be a normal process, a normal behavior in certain animals. Okay, so regurgitation means return of undigested food back into the esophagus to the mouth without a force and displeasure. Sometimes what happens when we eat heavily, sometimes certain due to the reverse contraction of the esophagus. Okay, sometimes the contents from the stomach comes out to our mouth. Okay, but that is not the vomition. Okay, there is no such a displeasure like in vomition. So during the process of vomition, there has to be involvement of numbers of abdominal muscles. Abdominal muscles have to contract and it will force the contents of the stomach to expel, okay, through the mouth. Okay, so we will not discuss the whole process of vomition, but you remember the terminology, where it happens and how it happens. Okay, so then different causes of there are different causes of vomition and regurgitation. Nausea. Okay, so nausea is one such term, that is the feeling that one is about to vomit. Okay, so usually before the vomit, nausea happens. It means nausea usually precedes vomition, but it does not always lead to vomition. So once suppose someone is suffering from nausea, does not mean that he or she will vomit. Okay, but in most of the cases, nausea precedes vomition. Okay, before vomition there will be nausea. Okay, next term is defecation. Defecation means it is the elimination of solid or semi-solid or liquid. Okay, it may be solid, it may be semi-solid, or it may be liquid waste materials, that is called feces, from the digestive tract via the anus. That process is defecation, and this is the final act of digestion. So this is the last act of digestion. The process is a combination of both voluntary and involuntary processes. So at the start, what happens? The rectum ampulla. Okay, the rectum ampulla, that is the little enlargement in the rectum. It acts as a temporary storage facility for the feces. Additional fecal materials in the rectum expand the rectal walls. So whereas more of the feces are added into the rectum, it will expand the rectal walls. So due to the expansion of these rectal walls, the stress receptors present on the rectal walls, they will be stimulated. Okay, and these will cause the contraction of the rectal muscles. That means some amount of the feces will be stored in the rectal ampulla, okay, initially, and more of the feces will be added, okay, into the rectum, and due to that the rectal wall will stretch, okay, and as the stress receptors are located on the walls of this rectum, the stress receptors will be stimulated, and when the stress receptors are stimulated, it will do the contraction of the rectum, okay, the rectal muscle, okay, as a whole, and side by side there will be relaxation of the internal anal sphincter. Okay, the internal anal sphincter will open while the rectal muscles contract. Initial contraction of the skeletal muscle of the external sphincter, okay, that will be accompanied by initial contraction of the skeletal muscle of the external sphincter, okay, and then the relaxation of the internal anal sphincter causes a signal to be sent to the brain indicating an urge to defecate. So up to this, it is the involuntary act, okay. So now the relaxation of this internal anal sphincter, it will give a signal to the brain, and that will happen, defecation will complete when the brain decides yes, okay. So then that's why the process of defecation is combination of both voluntary and involuntary process. Okay, so these are the certain terminologies. After this, do you want to ask anything about the terminologies we have discussed? Prehensile, mastication, then deglutition, rumination, eruption, vomition, and defecation. Do you want anything to be explained again up to this?
Ma'am.
Hello? Yes?
Ma'am, is cut and vomit same thing, ma'am? Ma'am, can we say that animals are chewing, ma'am? Cartoon.
Pardon? Repeat, please repeat.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes?
Hello? Ma'am, is
Yes?
cut, ma'am, the rumination cut and vomit same thing, ma'am? Like,
Does the ruminants vomit, you mean to say?
yes, ma'am.
No, they don't vomit.
No, ma'am.
Ruminant,
No, ma'am, cut.
I could not get what you are asking. What do you want to ask? I don't understand. Vomition does not occur, okay? Or I can write here, vomition is occurring sin means, yeah, with this word maybe vomition occurs in carnivores and most of the omnivores. It does not occur in horses and ruminants. Yes, ask again. What is your question?
Ma'am, it's in the chat box, ma'am.
Pardon? Hello? Hello?
It's in the chat box, ma'am.
Oh, wait. No, cut and vomit, they are not the same. In ruminants, okay, cut means whatever you chew and you swallow, okay, that is the cut. Whatever you chew and swallow, that is the cut. Fine? But rechewing of the cut is the rumination, it is not the vomition.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Chewing of the cut, it occurs in ruminants, and that is called rumination. Okay, but in case of the vomition, contents of the stomach are expelled. Okay, there is expulsion of the contents of the stomach with a force. That force will be supplied by the contraction of the numbers of abdominal muscles. Okay, and that is vomition. Is it okay? Now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else? I want to shift to the next topic.
Ma'am,
Okay.
what is rectum ampulla?
This is before that. Okay, I'll show you rectum ampulla. You might have not seen. How will I say? You see the picture, okay, and then you will understand. It's a part of the rectum, but you see the picture, then only you will understand what happened. Rectum. Can you see this figure? Do you see a figure on the slide? Okay, you see rectum, okay? That rectum, here there will be the rectum ampulla, here, that sac-like opening. That is the rectum ampulla. Ampulla means it's a sac-like opening actually. Like this. Further, if this picture is enlarged, this will be seen like this. Before the rectum opens into the anus, okay, there is some there is a presence of the internal sphincter over here, and it is that sac-like opening, that is the rectum ampulla. Is it okay? Somewhat enlarged from the area, it's somewhat enlarged, and then it is opening to the next segment, any area, okay. But here rectal ampulla means it is the opening of the rectum to the anus. Okay, is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when you study in anatomy, that time you will be shown the different figures and how it looks like in different animals and all. That time you will be more clear. Okay, and anything else? So what I was telling, that in this rectum ampulla, some amount of the feces will be stored. Okay, so this, at that time, this sphincter, the internal sphincter, will remain closed. Okay, initially it will remain closed, and the rectal ampulla will store the feces some amount, and more of the feces will be added over here. By the time maximum amount of feces are added over here, it will stretch, it will expand the rectum. Due to the expansion of the rectum, the stress receptors will get stimulated, and that will give a signal that there needs to be defecation. For that, initially this sphincter will get relaxed. Then finally, this sphincter will get relaxed. Okay, initially it was constricted. Okay, then by this time, when these signals are already there, it will give a signal that it needs to be defecated. The animal will feel the urge to defecate. Okay, then there will with the voluntary decision, that then there will be opening of the external anal sphincter, and the defecation will occur. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today's class is in between. So instead of starting another topic, I will give you a list of hormones. Okay, list of hormones which are secreted, as well as they are acting in the digestive tract. Okay, so in short, they are named as hormones of the GI tract. You might have heard the name gastrin. Have you heard the name gastrin? Yes. So gastrin is a hormone. It is secreted from the stomach. Have you heard the name Z cell? Yes, fine. So gastrin is secreted by Z cells of the stomach. The role of gastrin is to stimulate HCl secretion. HCl is secreted by which cell of the stomach? Parietal cells. So the gastrin, yes. Okay, gastrin is secreted by Z cells, and Z cells and gastrin will stimulate HCl secretion. Okay, and side by side, gastrin also stimulates pepsin secretion. Pepsin secretion from which cell? HCl is secreted by parietal cells. Pepsin is secreted by peptic cells, right? Sheep cells, okay? Then another hormone. Have you heard the name somatostatin?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this? Where did you hear this hormone? Did you hear it in the digestive tract or somewhere else? Have you heard? Did you hear this somatostatin? Huh?
Also in hypothalamus.
Okay, somatostatin is actually a growth hormone inhibitory hormone. Okay, so it is secreted by from the hypothalamic nuclei, and also they are secreted from the D cells of the pancreas. Okay, so they are also having role in the digestive system. Okay, and in addition, they are also secreted by D cells of the GI mucosa. Okay, and the role is they are inhibitory to growth hormone. Okay, growth hormone, it is a growth hormone inhibiting hormone. For growth hormone, somatolibrin, growth hormone releasing hormone. You know growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is not having any other inhibitory hormones. Something like corticotropin releasing hormone, it is having corticotropin inhibitory hormone. But the growth hormone is not having any inhibitory factor. But somatostatin is inhibitory to growth hormone. So somatostatin will control the release and the secretion of growth hormone. Okay, so somatostatin is growth hormone inhibiting hormone. It also inhibits the secretion of gastrin, vasoactive intestinal peptide, okay, and the GIP, okay, and the secretin and motilin. Okay, then secretin, you might have heard secretin. Have you heard secretin?
Yes.
Where did you hear secretin?
Duodenum.
Duodenum. Do you know any history about secretin? That we okay, replacement. Okay. Do you know any history about secretin? Yes or no? No. Okay, you will read this, okay, about secretin. There is some history about secretin. It will be interesting. You read from the Google, okay? Just type secretin and something will come out. Okay, you read that one. Something is coming. What is it? Okay. Then cholecystokinin. Oh yeah, so I was telling about secretin. Secretin is secreted from the S cells of the upper small intestine mucosa, say, and it is responsible for secretion of pancreatic salts and fluid. Okay, and it also helps in the secretion of bile from liver. Okay, this we will discuss in detail how they are influencing. Another hormone is cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin is also from the mucosa of the upper small intestine. It helps in the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and contraction of gallbladder. Okay, there are these two hormones, secretin and cholecystokinin. They are concerned for secretion of pancreatic juice or pancreatic salt and the fluid and the pancreatic enzymes. Okay, secretin responsible for secretion of pancreatic salts and the fluid, cholecystokinin responsible for pancreatic enzymes. Okay, secretin responsible for secretion of bile from the liver, cholecystokinin it will help in the contraction of the gallbladder. The gallbladder will be storing the bile. Bile will be synthesized in the liver that will be secreted and stored in the gallbladder. And by the action of the cholecystokinin, it will contract the gallbladder and it will help in the release of gallbladder. So secretin and cholecystokinin, they are having their roles particularly in the control of pancreatic juice and pancreatic enzymes and secretion of bile and contraction of gallbladder. Contraction of gallbladder means it will help in the removal of bile from the gallbladder. Okay, then only the bile will be reaching to the small intestine. So there plays a role by secretin and cholecystokinin. Okay. Then GIP, that is gastric inhibitory peptide. So they are secreted by K cells of duodenum and jejunum. The name itself says that gastric inhibitory peptide. That means it will inhibit gastric secretion in large dose. That means in small amount, they will not have much role in the secretion of the stomach, but it is inhibitory in large dose. It increases insulin secretion, so also named as glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Okay. Another hormone is peptide YY. It's secreted from jejunum. It inhibits gastric acid secretion and motility. Another hormone is substance P, endocrine and the nerve cells in GI tract. Okay, it increases motility of the small intestine. Okay, so these names you have to just remember and their associated functions. Okay, okay, substance P, and next is vasoactive intestinal peptide, nerves in the GI tract. Actually, this hormone vasoactive intestinal peptide or substance P, so these are neuroendocrine hormones, something like somatostatin or GnRH. They are called neuroendocrine hormones. Okay, so these are examples of the neuroendocrine hormones. You remember the nerve terminals, they are having the secretions, right? The axon terminals have their secretions in the form of neurotransmitters, right? So something like that, the nerve terminals, they are having certain secretions, but these secretions, instead of acting directly onto the nerves at the synapse, they are coming through the circulation and they are acting into other different target organs. That's why these substances, these chemicals, they are called neuroendocrine substances. Okay, so this vasoactive intestinal peptide or the substance P, these are secreted by the nerve terminals in the GI tract. The vasoactive intestinal peptide stimulates the intestinal secretion of electrolytes and hence of the water, and there is inhibition of the gastric acid secretion and the action of acetylcholine in salivary glands. Okay, so they are inhibitory, okay, to the acetylcholine in salivary gland action. And another hormone, ghrelin. Have you heard this hormone, ghrelin? No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this hormone, it plays important role in central control of food intake. You remember this, okay? So in addition to this, there is another hormone called leptin. Leptin. Okay, leptin. Okay, but that leptin is not secreted from the GI tract. So that is not included in GI tract hormone. But that also plays important role in the food intake control. Okay, so you remember two hormones. One is ghrelin, another is leptin. So ghrelin, it is secreted from stomach, and this is the hormone which plays important role in the food intake. I was telling about another hormone, leptin, Leptin. That hormone is secreted by the fats, that is the adipocytes, brown adipose tissues. Okay, so the adipocytes, they secrete the leptin hormone. That leptin hormone, it causes satiety. Satiety means like you are full, you don't feel hungry anymore. That feeling of fullness, okay, that is called satiety. Okay, so that is played by leptin, and ghrelin is another hormone which controls food intake in the animals. Okay, then another hormone is motilin. Motilin is secreted by enterochromaffin cells, or also called MO cells. Okay, the MO cells of stomach, small intestine, and colon. Okay, it causes contraction of the smooth muscles in the stomach and intestine. Another hormone is guanylin. Guanylin is secreted from the intestinal mucosa. It causes increased secretion of chloride into the intestinal lumen. Okay, simply what you have to remember here is the names of the list of the names of the hormones, and where from they come, and what is their function. Okay, one by one you have to remember this. I'll give you the soft copy today. Now I will convert into a PDF file and I will share in the WhatsApp group. You can have the write-up of this digestive system. Okay, then you try to remember these names, source, and their at least one function. Yeah. Okay. From next class, we will discuss, we'll start the secretions, the different types of the secretions, starting from the mouth, then it will come to the pancreas, then it will come to the other secretions. Okay, then their functions one by one. Okay, you want to ask anything about these hormones?
Ma'am, what is the meaning of insulinotropic peptide?
Oh, glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Insulinotropic means insulin it is going to produce certain what insulin does, okay, to the cells. What insulin does to the cells, that kind of effect it is going to produce to the cells. Insulin-like, meaning is insulin-like. But their function is dependent on glucose. How much is the amount of glucose available, that, okay, that is going to stimulate the insulin secretion from the pancreas. When body is having more and more of the glucose, there will be more and more insulin secretion. Okay. Okay. And in that way, this hormone secretion also leads to insulin secretion. When ZIP is there is insulin secretion. Okay, that's why the name is given glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. Insulinotropic means which will increase the insulin secretion. Something like when this hormone is there, okay, the functions which are brought by insulin, that will also be there in the body. That's why it is called insulinotropic. Do you get or not? Understand or not what I mean to say? Do you get? Could I?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, means what insulin is going to bring those functions which comes as a result of more insulin secretion, those functions come when ZIP is there. Okay, that's why it is called, that is because it helps in the increased secretion of insulin. That's why it is called, name has been given, glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. That's all. Anything else? Okay, you can leave. You have to read these names, okay? Names, the source, type of the cells or the source, and their functions. You have to remember this. I'll give you the soft copy of Digestive. Okay? You can leave.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.